Okay. All right, I'm going to give you this one. Shouldn't have said the cerebral part, right? Insult people what I should have done was my favorite line I've ever written, and simply just said it out here. You know, it's really hard to believe that only half the people are dumber than average. Thank you very much. Okay, well, I kind of predicted this in my own brain's mind because there wasn't too much danger there in front of the bluegrass audience. And if somebody thought about exactly what I'm going to tell you the danger was in, is by all means raise your hand because we'll know you've been listening to the wrong kind of music. But if you would do that in front of a lot of audiences, like, okay, I'm going to sell these CDs for whatever you got, there would be people actually shout out. Can anybody get it now? Oh, you're not selling very many of those CDs, are you? Or some insulting thing. The bluegrass audience is always pulling for the people. You can go ahead and deliver the goods if you want to, even though it's hard, because they're always rooting for you. And you know good and well, there's people, I've seen people at the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra who are sitting there complaining about the orchestra doing too good. Well, he usually can't be that good. Or Michael Tilson Thomas, one of the greatest pianists to ever live. I've heard him sit there and say, if you knew his music, you'd know where his mistakes were. That's not the way, you know. You think Michael Tilson Thomas doesn't know where his mistakes are? Is that it? So anyways, when I'm done, you can get these for free if you want them. Fortunately, I didn't bring enough to break the bank. Mostly because the guys in the band didn't get $2. So before we go on, are there any questions or comments or anything that anybody's been wondering about? I really thought this was going to be like a thing for band leaders or something. Yes, sir.
With your knowledge of traditional music, mountain music, have you ever played with Norman Blake?
Yeah.
And why isn't it recorded?
The best thing I can say about that is a line I once heard from J.D. Crowe. We were sitting around, a bunch of us, it was really a lot of fun. Bobby Osborne was playing fiddle, Crowe was on the banjo, and I was on the mandolin. And Norman Blake was playing guitar, and we played something in E flat or D sharp. I never had known the difference. I'm certain there is a difference. And Norman Blake was playing it without a capo. And I'm telling you, and some very nice person walked up and said, "Can you start over? I'd like to record this." And JD, just as nice as you could, said, "We didn't come here to record, we came here to perform." And there's a big difference. And your question is real appropriate this time because we have a guy in the band that taught me how to find things on my phone, music on my phone. You know, it's Brian Aldridge. You see him this afternoon. He has created a monster because he showed me how to find Bill Monroe playing rye whiskey in the Get Up John tuning, and his whole band standing there with their thumbs in their mouths. And I listen, and it goes on for 4 minutes and some in that, and all the notes are tuned to different notes and harmonies to each other, and it ain't all good, but it's all got that Bill Monroe tone. And now I can recommend it because all you got to look up is Bill Monroe, rye whiskey. If you got a phone as smart as mine, I can really do some dumb stuff with this phone. So I hope that's it. There's a real difference between recording and playing, and so many things get recorded now, and I can see people who might look at that rye whiskey and say, he's hunting for stuff. And I looked at it and thought, man, he's hunting for stuff. It's a different thing. I guess that'd be it. Anything else? Yes, sir. Huh? Maybe they're out of them. Did you ask for one? Well, if you really need one, I got a couple over to the van, and I think the toothpicks in them have never been used. And what I tell you something else, you get one, don't open it up right away and get infected by cutting yourself or anything, but let's say you go to a knife fight on Monday and you clean house with this knife, it's got a little corkscrew in there you can get your champagne open with.
You don't need a corkscrew for champagne.
I'll go see what they can do. Anything else? Yes.
One of my favorite songwriters is Cy Khan, and I know you've recorded some of his stuff, or at least one of his songs. He's been dabbling in bluegrass lately. I just wondered if you'd touched base with him at all to play or anything.
Well,
Cy Khan.
I've only got to talk to Cy Khan. Who said you could ask questions? I only got to talk to Cy Khan one time in my life, and it was at the big Bluegrass Festival in that island off of just north of Washington, Vancouver Island, and we were performing there, and we did Aragon Mill. And he came up and he said, "Well, at least you didn't do it like you did with Hazel." And for those of you who don't know, Hazel Dickens had a wonderful, wonderful recording of Aragon Mill. And it was the first record I ever got to play my Lord, Lord mandolin on. But she only sang 2 verses. And after it was over, I said, "Hazel, how come you only done 2 verses?" And she said, "I was so much into it, I felt 2 of them would be all people could stand." And I couldn't argue with her there. And I said, "Hazel, that's not the real reason. Let's go do it again." And she said, "I could never do it again like that." And I thought, that's a person that loves music and loves to deliver it. But Cy Khan came up and he told us that our version was his favorite version. And I loved that. And he sent me several songs since, and they just don't relate to the band. They're not, I think people that are younger than I could do them, and younger than the people in my band, but they got images of fishes and stuff. Like, well, let's see, there was one. He did this one, he sent me one. I said, "Rode from Wyoming, rolled on through the night. The moon held its face in the sky. I was ready to drink. Someone come in the medicine bowl. The only person there was the barroom maid. And so he tried to pick her up and take her home. And then it come to all these fishes and stuff. And I can't remember, different color lights going on. I thought, probably not the dry branch style. I knew what they're talking about, though. I've raised animals. And I have more stuff, but I'm glad to answer these questions. Passion for teaching. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. It took me about 6 months of my first teaching job, for which I was paid for a year, $3,100, to find out that I didn't have one thing to say that everybody in the classroom, the students looking at me, wanted to hear. It's like like here, that's why I can't put more than a half dozen people here, and most of them have left. But I looked out there and I thought, this is all backwards. The focus is on me, and I've already learned this stuff. And so I stopped that day being in front of class. I wrote on the board when the class came in that I didn't have anything more to say. But I had some assignments for them to do, and if they didn't like those, they could make some assignments I'd help them with. And if they got stuck, come talk to me. Otherwise, I'm going to sit up here and play chess or read novels. And I knew another thing. I knew right off another thing. I knew that you can tell people things all day long and they can't learn them. It's not that they won't learn them. They absolutely cannot learn them. And but if you model that behavior, if you live that behavior yourself, they not only learn them, they learn them better than you know. An example. Here's a statistic. I don't know that it's still valid. This was still valid back in the 70s. If a child lived in a family where both parents smoked cigarettes, they had a 90% chance of becoming smokers. If they lived in a family where one parent smoked cigarettes, they had a 60-some%, I can't remember exactly what it was. If they lived in a family where neither parent smoked cigarettes, they had about a 10% chance of becoming a smoker. That didn't mean they would never sample it. That was becoming a habitual smoker. And that statistic shocked me to death. And I thought, you know, at least when I'm in this classroom, I have to model good behavior. I have to do it. I have to absolutely do it. And I don't want to get corny about this, but it made a better man of me. Because when I was just thinking I was going in and drawing a paycheck and I could teach poetry and math and stuff like that, there was no soul to it. When I found out how people learn what kind of person you are, made all the difference. I'm proud of two things, and the first is the least proud. I got 3 citations by the Ohio State Senate for teaching school. I hope I can tell you this. I gotta get someone else to tell you this. My second year, I had a student by the name of Bob Bible. Bob was very challenged intellectually. This was back when they would take IQ scores and things like that. And his IQ score was right at 60. It was about almost at, well, it was 2 standard deviations below normal. And he was always in trouble. And he was always getting paddled. This was back when they paddled kids. And he just acted up in class, you know, he did it. And I gotta say, he never bothered me because he's so polite. He just got attention on himself. And the way I ended up teaching was I used to just have the best students help the poorest student. I said, get in there and do your job, both of you. And I would have them work in groups. I'd have them make their own assignments. You know, let me help you with this. I'd get into groups. I was really turned on to that. And that helped Bob some, but and just an aside, and then I'll come back to this. Only one time in all 30 years of this, I have a parent come in that had a really, really bright child that had gotten like a B or something. And both parents came and said, we're not really complaining, but here's the fact. Our daughter reads at a 3rd year college level. She gets straight A's and everything. And look at this paper. It's a B, and you know it's an A paper. And I gave him this answer. I said, okay, I'll put an A on it, but here's the deal. Your daughter can do a way better paper. I should have given this a C if I had just compared it. And I want to know, and I'll do whatever you want. Do you want me to push her to do the best job she can, or do you want the A on this paper? Because your choice. It makes no difference to me. And those people went away and said, you keep pushing. And I still believe that every parent that loved their children would do that. Most parents don't want somebody to get something that they could do better at that level of their life. Let's finish up with Bob Bible. Years passed. We were playing in Ohio one year, and here comes Bob Bible. Of course, he was a big kid to start with. He towered over me, and he was a real man. And he come up, and he was a little gruff. He said, "You remember me?" I said, "Hell yes." He said, "You remember paddling me?" I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "That was good for me." He said, "The kids all liked the way I could take it." And he handed me a card, and he said this. He said, "You remember telling us that if we had to get heart surgery, we wanted to get it from the doctor that got A on the heart test." I said, "Oh, Bob, I don't remember that." It sounds like a pretty smart thing. And he handed me a card. He said, "Mr. T, I own my own brake and muffler shop, and I get A every time I do it, and I'll give you free brakes and mufflers anytime you want." So that's why it was hard to leave. Sorry about that.